Hello, Bat Freaks and Bat Geeks. This is my now regular weekly show. My goodness. Um, my regular weekly thing where I talk about Bat comic books, and I don't worry about whether I spoil them or not. I usually do spoil them. Mostly focused on Batman Eternal most of the time. I also have Batman Futures End. I even got the lenticular version, although I hate the lenticular versions. Um, but it was the only copy I could get. So, let me talk about Batman Eternal first. For me, this was kind of a bit of a letdown. I think I liked the last two issues. I found them stronger. They were tightly focused. This issue follows two plot threads. Now, our good friend Joshua Hayes, made a good point that the following a lot of threads is actually important for this book, but sometimes they don't follow a lot of threads that well. So at least temporarily, those two issues that were more focused were kind of a relief from all the threads that are brought in, dropped out, brought in, dropped out. So anyway, this issue still was fairly focused. It just had two threads, but neither one of them felt terribly well served to me in terms of the writing. I felt like Tim Seeley, who is the scripter on this one, was hitting plot points that he needed to. I'm guessing that were assigned to him. You need to get this, this, and this done. I imagine maybe, in some kind of group conference that they had where they banged out the large plot points that they wanted to get in each issue. It sounded great to make Catwoman the daughter of the Lion, the person who is also Jim Gordon's cellmate, and to have her be told by him that she should become the crime boss. But I didn't find that a very convincing way to have her become the crime boss. And I found the whole setup of an urchin who brings her through the toilet hole, I guess, in his cell to come talk to him, where he just tells her this. He doesn't really have any particular compelling reason or offer her any special help in how she's going to become the head of all the crime families in town. So it's really a bunch of plot hand-wavium, to set her on the course that they want her to be set on. There are a few nice character moments for Catwoman. I mean, certainly Tim Seeley could write Catwoman very well. He writes very well in Grayson, but I think I've noticed almost all the Tim Seeley issues of Batman Eternal have felt like he's just like doing his homework, doing what the teachers want him to or something. Just hitting the points that will get him the grades and then moving on. There's no soul in these. So I kind of miss James Tynion particularly. Might have been a lot better choice to write this issue. And then the Batman thing, we kind of thought it was over with the architect, but he's still, there's stray hairs coming off my beard. I guess I need to trim it. And they're distracting me. He's still fighting the architect, and his defeat of the architect's machine that's creating the vibrations to destroy the city, destroy the tower, instead causes an earthquake, which is kind of interesting. By saving one thing, he makes something even worse happen. So in a way, it's his fault that there are earthquakes happening throughout his city. I don't and there was an interesting moment where Catwoman is dealing with the earthquake and saving the little urchin from falling into a big crevasse. But everything felt, particularly with the earthquake stuff, it was just there. There wasn't a graceful timing of it in the writing. There was a nice line where Hush is like, everything always works out for the Wayne, so the Wayne building's up despite my plans, but then he takes it into in stride with some like quote from Socrates or Plato or Aristotle. Pardon me for not remembering which one. Did he always quote Aristotle? It makes me kind of enjoy Hush a little more, his reactions to these things. And I found it awfully easy for the architect to get away from Batman. I mean, Batman's always ready for these kinds of things. I certainly can think of several ways that Batman would stop a guy from flying off a building top. I guess from the looks of things, an iron girder fell between them. Maybe it fell on Batman's legs. But it doesn't look like that. Maybe that's a flaw with the art. Maybe Batman is trapped. But even then, I thought he should try something with a Batarang or something. There were a few good moments that I liked with little character beats, like for Hush. I liked the portrayal of one of these crime families that is trying to mess with Tiger Shark. I was less impressed by Tiger Shark himself. I liked that Catwoman was there to rescue a rare tiger cub. I kind of wish she had succeeded in rescuing the tiger cub. But nevertheless, it does seem like when this kid just shows up in her apartment, it does seem very surprising, and I'm unconvinced. And I guess the kid is a girl, but I at first thought it was a boy. I guess that's not a big deal, but they could have done something. So where's Jim Gordon? I guess he's off. He's off being interrogated, or meeting with his lawyer. It happens when Catwoman's having this meeting with her dad, or they don't share a cell anymore. There's a lot of ways to get in and out of Blackgate Prison. They kind of make a joke out of that. But so I've already put it. It's just the things were done kind of by rote, and I'm not thrilled by this way of making Catwoman the boss. There was less of a, Penny 2 was in it, but less was done with that. Less was done with the whole Batman and the architect. It was just there because we needed to have the earthquake, and we needed to have Hush do a few things or say a few things. I enjoyed the artwork quite a bit. I've watched Joshua Hayes' critique of the art, and he's probably right. I haven't read the issue that he compared it to. I think Nguyen's art has been mostly good in all the issues he's done in Batman Eternal, but there's always been some panels that weren't that good. Unfortunately, in this issue, one of the bad panels was a full pager, where Catwoman just looks all wrong there, and it's just not impressive enough of a picture to take up a full page. But that is not a lithe Catwoman. It's like her stunt double suddenly took over for her. Someone who's more of a tank-like person than a cat burglar kind of person. But other than that, and the colors are very good. So it strikes a nice mood and everything, and I like, other than that one picture, I like his Catwoman and the way he does her. Um, but there was that scene there where earlier where I was talking about the girder and where I couldn't be totally sure if maybe what was happening to Batman there, and there may have been other moments in the story where perhaps the story would have been better with a little better storytelling. But I think overall, the art helped to carry the story really for me. With a lesser artist, I think it would be an even more disappointing issue. I feel like the rubber's beginning to hit the road in terms of, and not necessarily in a good way, but I mean all the plot structure that they've set up in kind of awkward ways in the first 20 issues, they now have to, in the last 3 issues and going forward, they have to build upon that. And if the structure's not sound enough to get all architectural on you, if the structure's not sound enough, then these issues are going to suffer more. It was easier to forgive the flaws of it all early on when you thought they would be bringing it together better. There's still lots of chances to bring it together better. But I'm going on kind of my theory now that that Batman Eternal is going to end up a very flawed story. And maybe one of the flaws is that they couldn't resist this DC urge to epicness, that they had to do a 60-issue story. Really, if they had done a series of 6-issue stories, we would have had a story every month and a half. And those stories could have, been in a chain or a daisy chain that set up things for each other. And that would have been, that's just one theory of how they could have done it more elegantly. But trying to do this massive project with all these different writers, and with perhaps not, the most on top of things, leadership plot-wise, I'm lowering my expectations. I'll be happy to be proved wrong. There's certainly been some very good writing from James Tynion, and maybe that will kick in better, and maybe, who was it who wrote last week? Kyle Higgins, maybe his contributions will be stronger. Maybe he'll be more committed to this book than some of the other writers have been. Maybe Scott Snyder will start writing actually scripting some issues. That would probably help it a lot too. Because I think it would be really all of the stories can be really fun stories. The Catwoman story, Catwoman rising up through the ranks and becoming the kingpin, so to speak, of Gotham crime, that could be a really great story, a really fun thing. But we don't see it yet. We haven't been shown that this is going to be a really cool, fun story for her. And the Julia Pennyworth has had me interested. Spoiler was really interesting. Let's get her back. They've teased us before that Spoiler was coming back. The next issue, they say, spoiler alert. So one would think Spoiler's going to be back next issue in a big way. That might be helpful if they can backpedal and bring her up to speed in a good way. I can accept the changing of the artists. I'm kind of accepting the idea that, in a way, the issues are like pieces of a puzzle, and it's a maybe slightly imperfect puzzle where the pieces don't line up quite exactly right. So that something that happened in the previous issue, written by a different writer, doesn't quite line up timing-wise with everything, and I can live with that. The timing at this point for the Spectre Batwing story is crazy. And I guess I found it kind of weird, the final 2 pages of the book where Commissioner Bard comes to talk to the mayor, Mayor Haiti. and they review the crime war, the purported haunting of Arkham Asylum. The fact that they kind of know something's going on about Arkham Asylum makes me kind of shocked that they don't know more, because they would know, like, anyone who's gone in has disappeared or something like that. And also the nanotech thing going on in the Narrows, apparently they know about that, but we haven't touched base on that at all. But that the commissioner knows all about that and the mayor knows all about that gives a different light on it. And it feels like all of these things have been happening for a while for them to know about it. And again, we've kind of, we readers and the writers of this have neglected those some of those threads. So, yeah. I guess I'm getting hopeful as I talk about it that they can, with all this good stuff, they can get it whipped back up into shape. We'll see. It's still the thrill of the weekly book is there, if not as good as I could hope for it to be, with the lowered expectations. I don't know what I heard, or maybe it was I saw the artwork and I thought I would get Batman Future's End, partially because I'd rationalized I was going to get it for $3 and not $4. But I got it for $4. I couldn't resist after I'd sort of made the mental note that I wanted to get it. And I really did love the artwork by, I think, ACO. ACO? Are we supposed to call him ACO? ACO? Or just ACO? And then the colors are by FCO. Are we supposed to be able to pronounce FCO Placencia? FCO. Is that short for something? I don't know. Anyway, that was funny to ACO and FCO. But they did a great job. The coloring is really great, too. I think FCO does the coloring on Batman all the time, and the coloring's always been great on any New 52 Batman comic. This has a Batman who's pretty much on his last legs, and the plot is very simple, really. He's stealing from Lex Luthor the ability to make clones of yourself from Lex Luthor's Superman cloning project. So there's not a whole lot here, but it's pretty gripping and fun to read. And as I said, to me, the art was really strong. I would like to see some more FCO in the Batman world. I think he would be a great addition to Batman Eternal. However, well, you know what? I love the style of his art, and generally the storytelling's pretty good. But I do have to say, in these sort of fight scenes with robots and Superman clones, it always comes down to a kind of unclear moment where Batman's escaping. Let me see. Where he's fighting the robot. He's fighting Lex Luthor's robot. It was very clever, this, one of the most fun parts about it were all these holographic Lex Luthors and his snotty way of talking to people who've gotten so far through his traps. So Batman, there's some robot that's supposed to hear Batman's breathing and fire at it, or sense the oxygen of his breathing. And Batman somehow gets out by doing something here, and something happens there. The robot falls apart, I guess, or gets short-circuited. But it's not super clear visually. And then Batman's blowing up. I guess he got the information he needed on how to make clones, or the missing piece, and then he's blowing up the whole lab and the clones in it. And I guess these clones don't count as human because they're all really kind of bizarros. So there's a great picture. So I guess it's okay to kill them. That thought kind of passed through my mind as being not great. Are these a bunch of them dying there? is Batman sure they've died? I mean, they're kind of like Superman. They're pretty hard to kill. Stuff goes on. I can't say conclusively what happens in terms of these action sequences. I know in the end Batman gets out. He, I guess here he's escaped out of the Lexcom building, and I guess here he's returned to the Batcave. So that was a little disappointing. But the other thing is a Batman who's in almost a total case of, completely falling apart physically. Does that mean the Batman... So part of the Future's End plot is there's Bruce Wayne... There's the Bruce Wayne with Batman Beyond. And we see Bruce Wayne die in the beginning of Future's End, 50 years in the future. But with time to send Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis, back in time to our time, only they fail and they send him 5 years. So Bruce Wayne is still alive 45 years from now, but he seems about to die here. And are we supposed to believe that? Because 5 years in the future is maybe 10 years into Batman's career as a superhero, maybe 11, 12 at the most. So maybe he's in his late 30s at the most. Of course, this is a maybe future. I don't really believe Batman is going to be such a wreck by then. But anyway, that's picking away at it. I did enjoy this issue. I really would rather have paid $1 less and not get this cover. My hands actually sweat while I'm holding this cover. I believe, it's hard to tell, it's a subtle thing, but I think these Future's End books, maybe to make up for the cost of lenticular cover, the paper feels even thinner. Like it feels subtly thinner than the paper in Batman Eternal, which they knew they weren't going to be doing a lenticular cover with. So that's an interesting little note. I don't know if when I got the 2D versions of other ones, I think the paper's a little thicker there too. So anyway, I do have a little Batman treat that I got myself, actually with a gift certificate my wife gave me for our wedding anniversary, although that was actually the beginning of the summer. I just finally cashed in on it. I actually got 2 books, but I'll just show you the Batman one. I got a Superman one that's pretty much the same concept. This is called Batman Cover to Cover, and it's supposed to cover Batman cover art from the beginning until the present of whenever the book was published, which I think was before the New 52 started. So it's a bit of a coffee table book. It's a little bit small, I would have liked a little bigger, but it's a lot of fun. And my other kind of critique of it is they try to organize it thematically rather than chronologically. I think it would be much more fun to look at the chronological evolution of comic book covers and of Batman and the way Batman looked. And there is this fun chart here which shows the evolution of the Batman logo. I just got this a few hours ago, and I haven't really had a chance to thoroughly look through it. But I don't immediately see what the themes are that... I don't know if there's chapter titles. I don't think there are. Oh, like here it says, through the years, Batman has found himself with a host of allies. Earning the right to operate in Gotham City is not easily won. So I guess this section, the theme is Batman with his allies. So, I mean, that's kind of an interesting theme. But I think I would have preferred a purely chronological order. And the other thing is I would have preferred I guess they get more covers in this way, but I would have preferred more full-page covers and less small reproductions, quarter-page things. There's some interesting comparisons. But there are some pages where, now I can't find them, where they just have a lot of small reproductions and a lot of blank space on the page. I don't find that for a big, expensive book. Why not just, I guess they can put in more covers, but I think they should have made it mostly like this, full-page covers, with just a few pages with less. Oh, always love this cover. Take me to the moon, Batman. So anyway, there's that. And maybe I don't know if I'll glean any interesting knowledge from reading the text portions, but I don't know if you'll see it, there's these shiny bat symbols of different eras here. I guess you can see it. And if you take the dust jacket, actually has a hole in it where you see the earliest version of Batman, and if you take it off, you get this zoomed in part of the Batman Detective Comics 27. I assume that's what that is. And you get a zoomed in version of some of the ads that were on the back of the comic book. So that's a lot of fun, I think. I like that touch. The other thing is, so I got this from In Stock Trade, and I have a huge wish list on In Stock Trade. And when I was ordering, I was thinking about a lot of other Bat books that I wanted to get. And since I decided to not get them right now. I decided to get them out of the check them out of the library, because the library here turned out to have them, and thought I could look them over for future reference of whether I would want to own them in the future. And these are these Batman collections devoted to individual artists. So Tales of the Batman, Gene Colan. And I believe Gene Colan did a lot of Batman in the early 80s, I want to say, when he left Marvel. I assume he was wooed over as a kind of star artist at the time to DC. And I don't think this was Gene Colan at his best. I feel like he wasn't trying as hard, but it's still very interesting to see Gene Colan do Batman. There's images where things look off, and where you think Gene Colan could have redrawn them a bit. But still, I'm a huge Gene Colan fan, and it's a lot of fun to see him do Batman. And it's fun to see him inked by different people. Like here, he's being inked by Tony DeZunia, one of those great Filipino inkers of the 70s and 80s. And there's another issue where he's inked by Alfredo Alcala. Anyway, so that's pretty fascinating. I haven't decided whether to put this higher up on my want to own list or not. I need to look through it some more. And then a kind of forgotten artist now, Don Newton, always stood out to me at the time as the best Batman artist, in a post-Neil Adams world. He had a bit of a Neil Adams quality, but he also had his own style with his own, I don't know how to put it, but his own sense of kind of the blacks and the weight of the lines and stuff. It's definitely, looks old-fashioned. I think it would be great if these things were recolored with, a little bit modernized in their coloring. But they've chosen to go for pretty much the way the original coloring looked. And Don Newton, I believe, well, I know from looking on Wikipedia, I think he didn't become a professional comic book artist till he was about 39, and then he died at age 49. So he had kind of a short career, but he made a pretty big impact at the time. I don't know how many people remember him now. I don't hear him mentioned much. As I read through these, it may be affected on whether I like the writing of this period or not, whether I feel like I'll have to own these. I suppose in terms of reading things in chronological order, it doesn't always make sense to collect them by artist, but it does appeal to the way I used to think about comic books as a kid, which was totally based on the artist. And it's nice to see all of the artist's work in one place. And in the case of these two artists, they may have mostly done consecutive issues anyway. They are both comic book workhorses. So, I have no idea how long I've gone on for. Whoa, a half hour. So, to anyone who has made it all the way to the end, thank you very much, my friend. Talk to you later.